And I said, oh, I cannot English today. And she was like, oh, you should keep doing that. That's really funny. Just go on stage and speak in a broken English. People would love that. I was like...
Hello, welcome to Comedy with an Accent podcast. I'm your Taiwanese comedian, Quan Wen. I interview comedians who perform English stand-up comedy but who are not native English speakers, or they can have very distinct British regional accent. This podcast is all about comedy, about accent, about languages, and about the comedy technique. So stay tuned if you're interested. Our guest today is a comedian from Spain, more specifically from Andalusia, Isa Bonachera. Isa and I both perform predominantly in London, but we are so-called on the UK circuit. Isa is a very talented and very interesting performer, and I will let her introduce herself.
Hello, hi. Thank you for having me.
Right, Isa, I need you to introduce yourself properly in Spanish. How would you say it?
Hola, me llamo Isa Bonachera, soy de Roquetas de Mar en España y no sé, estoy aquí haciendo comedia en Inglaterra.
I got Isa, I got Bonachera, I got Espanol, and that's pretty much it. That's not the usual speed you would go for, though. Is it when you speak Spanish? Is it normally that slow, or I thought it's faster?
No, I usually speak faster. Yeah, I slow it down so you can catch some words.
All right. Isa, I want to ask you a question at the beginning of the podcast, and I hope that it's not rude. So, Isa, do you think you have an accent?
I find that question very rude. I don't think that I have a perfect British accent from London. London born and raised.
Okay.
Yeah. No, yes, I have an accent. I think, I can hear it.
The way I just asked that question sounds so cringeworthy, isn't it? I don't think an Englishman would ever ask the other one. I mean, they would think about it all the time.
Yeah.
And they would talk behind your back and maybe even like mimic and mock your accent, but I don't think they would ever dare. Maybe some of the racist one, but they would ever dare to say in your face, do you think you have an accent? I'm going to be even ruder this time. Do you personally find your Spanish accent when you're performing English mild or strong?
It depends on the day.
Would you care to elaborate, please?
Like, sometimes I make an effort so, like, people will understand what I'm saying. But if I get excited in the moment, I don't think about how I'm speaking, and I can tell that people are not understanding me because they're not laughing. It's not because I'm not being funny, it's because they don't understand my accent properly.
But what is the point when you would start giving I'm sorry for the language, but you basically say, you know what, I'm not gonna deliberately censor my accent, I'm just gonna speak the way I want. Or what is the occasion you wouldn't really even remember to monitor your...
Yeah, I think, like, if I have a couple of pints before going on stage, then I forget that I'm actually not speaking in my native language, and I'm just like, blah, 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 blah. And, like, I can see people, they don't understand a word that I'm saying. They're just, oh.
So basically, under the influence of alcohol.
Yeah.
And you would start trying to improve or make your accent acceptable to the level of general British understanding.
Yeah, I definitely do make an effort sometimes to, like, talk very slowly. When I said it in the circuit, I will speak very quickly, and that was not working on my favor because I have a very strong accent. So, like, when I'm on stage, I try to, like, speak very slowly, let people have a minute to think about what I just said.
I don't find your accent strong. I've come across a lot of Spanish speakers, and I don't think your accent is particularly strong. If anything, it's more like you occasionally mumble. We're getting into even ruder territory now. So I don't think that's your accent as your personal way of speaking. So I find that you would deliberately articulate when you go on stage. Whereas when we talk in private, you are a bit more relaxed, more casual. But it's not a problem at all to understand because there's context. But obviously, I'm not a native English speaker, so maybe I'm more used to different type of accent myself. I'm very tempted to ask you whether you think my accent is strong or not, but I'm not gonna go there. This is a very unfair treatment. I'm gonna attempt to ask you a question in Spanish. I think I should have opened with Isa. ¿Qué cuentas or something like that? Is that right?
¿Qué te cuentas?
¿Qué te cuentas?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. What's up?
Is the textbook one ¿Cómo estás?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't speak Spanish for the record.
No, that was very good.
No, but what should I have asked is, Isa, ¿dónde está la biblioteca?
That's so offensive.
Why is it?
I'm kidding. That means I like big butts in Spanish.
That is not true. Come on, like I think people would know if with the limited Spanish they have, they would know from the very first lesson or maybe lesson 2 or 3. I don't know because I've personally not learned Spanish at all. I've not learned Spanish here, but I think that's one of the first sentence they will learn.
Yeah, it's where's the library? Yeah.
Yeah, but why? I mean, if anything, I don't think people read.
People don't go to the library. It's a dying business. Is it a business even?
Isa was a finalist in BBC 2018, a new comedy. When you start your set, you address your accent by saying, this accent is not because I'm a foreigner, it's because when I learn English, I watch Pingu. Yeah. And I just thought that is really smart and bold and very efficient. They would be aware of your accent anyway. And if you avoid addressing the fact that you have an accent, they will keep thinking about your accent. So you have to put it to sleep and then they can move on mentally.
Yeah.
And you might as well get a joke out of it.
When I wrote that joke, that's exactly what I was saying of because I think that I can write comedy about many different things. So I didn't want it to be a one-note comedian. Even though now I'm leaning more into like my Spanishness and doing more comedy about being from Spain, but it's coming from a different place rather than like I'm the Spanish comedian. I decided to start the set that way exactly for that reason because I wanted to address it from the beginning and then just like move on. So I could like talk about what I really wanted to talk about. And the reason for that is because I took a comedy course.
I'm not exactly sure. I think a lot of judgmental English speaker might think, oh, wish I could help her there. I think it's course. Course. I'm not sure. I think maybe. But we know what you mean from the context. Yeah. Okay, so you attended
a comedy course.
Comedy class. Comedy class.
The instructor, she was trying to help all the students. So like tell them the direction that they should take. And the feedback that she kept giving me was, oh, you should do jokes about being from Spain, about siesta and paella, like all these like Spanish stereotypes.
Did she actually actively encourage
to
go on stage and say that? Did she give you the example how you could milk the stereotype of a siesta?
There was this one time that I was running through my set and I said something wrong and I stopped and I said, oh, I cannot English today. And she was like, oh, you should keep doing that. That's really funny. Just go on stage and speak in a broken English. People would love that. I was like, It was like very awkward. I was like, I'm not gonna do that. I took her feedback to address my accent from the beginning, but I went in the complete opposite direction that she wanted me to take, sort of like as an act of rebellion. I don't want to be known as the Spanish comedian because I have so much other stuff that I want to talk about in my comedy that are just not about being from Spain. And I just want to get to the interesting bits of my set as quickly as possible.
No, but that is exactly what we want to discuss here because she gave you a piece of advice.
Yeah.
And the way you see is I was just gonna address the problem you identify, but I'm not having any of your suggestion.
Yeah.
The solution you provide are not solutions. I think you think that will pigeonhole you very early on and people Or is it simply because you don't want to be the butt of the joke?
Yeah.
Which way is more likely the main explanation?
Yeah, exactly that. I don't want to be pigeonholed, and I don't appreciate when people make fun of Spanish people. Like there's like, for example, that sitcom Twin Towers, no.
Fawlty Tower?
Fawlty Towers.
Right.
And there's a character that is from Spain. The actor that plays, I think, is German, I don't know. But
What? Okay.
yeah, but like the joke is like he's always like, ¿qué? And he gets kicked a lot by his boss, and he's like very incompetent. When I watched that, I'm like, ugh, I don't like it.
You don't like it?
So I will not do that to someone else. So why would I do that to myself? I would not like other people to do that to me. So if I do that to myself, then I should like open the door and make it okay to other people to make those jokes about myself or other immigrants. And I don't want that to happen.
You mentioned earlier that you also start to talk about your Spanishness, and it seems to me you start to find a distinction. Because there are different meaning of being the Spanish comedian, right?
Yeah.
You can be the Spanish comedian only because you're a great comic, but people know that, they happen to know that you're from Spain. Or you can be a Spanish comedian that talks nothing but the fact that you come from Spain.
Yeah, and that's fine. I think like that's also interesting,
but then
comedic
in the
direction, but it's
second-
not what I am. Yeah.
But that's even in the second category,
Yeah.
if you are a Spanish comedian or we talk about Spain, you
Yeah.
can still have smart, great,
Yeah.
well-written jokes and very hack jokes. So basically, at the beginning, you just want to draw a very distinct, how to say that, you want to draw lines, I'm not having any of that. And then you start to say, actually, some of it is still in my world comedy.
Yeah.
You just don't want to be pushed to the very extreme edge.
Yeah, and like lately I've been writing a lot of comedy about being from Spain, about like flamenco and bullfighting and all of that, because I think they are interesting topics. People will be interested like hear more about those topics that I know a lot about because it's my culture. People that talk about where they're from and their culture like all the time, that's fine, and I do really enjoy a lot of comedians that do them. It was just not the direction that I wanted to take.
Right.
Yeah.
But is there a specific event, for example, a chat with someone that prompted you to say, I actually don't mind explaining to the audience a bit about flamenco? Because maybe they see me, they think of me, and they are quite curious about this part of my culture. Or is there a specific thing that prompted this slight detour in your comedy direction?
Yeah, it was during the pandemic that I started to think a lot about that. And I think it was because I was starting to get homesick because I couldn't go home as often. I have always sort of like a little bit turned my back on my culture and being from Spain just because I have been an immigrant for 10 years. I wanted to integrate myself in whatever country I was living in and not other myself and sort of like feel like fully integrated. So I think like I have always neglected that part of myself, but it was during the pandemic that I started to really learn to embrace that because I was like feeling homesick and I was thinking about that a lot. And that really encouraged me to talk more about it. And now, just by writing about it and thinking about the interesting things about the places where I grew up, I'm appreciating again where I come from, and I'm very happy to talk about it now.
And it was initially a deliberate choice.
Yeah, the name that I used to go on stage is Bonachera, and I have purposely shortened my name to anglicize it a little bit because in Spain we have really long names. So my first name is Isabel Maria, but I go by Isa, to sort of like anglicize it a bit, to be a bit shorter.
That reminds me, I once gave you, this is, people should never do, before people ask you, you shouldn't offer unsolicited advice. And I didn't even know Isa very well at that time. But I was like, but Isa, you are missing a goal that only you can do. Your name in the eyes of British people is ISA. If anyone who doesn't know ISA, that is the acronym for Individual Saving Account.
Yeah.
I don't remember your reaction. I think you play along with it, but I don't know whether you were rolling your eyes.
You know, like when I first came to the UK and I started like making friends, there was like a good 6 months where like I kept getting photos like from friends all the time about pictures from adverts for like ISIS.
Oh
There was like this one advert like by Barclays, which was like a pig with like a cape, and it says, "Get yourself a kick-ass Isa." And I received that picture 20 times. So like,
I'm sorry. I'm genuinely sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. It's just like something that I live with. It's just, this is my reality.
Right. So not only wasn't the joke great, it was too obvious. Even people who don't do comedy will point it out to her. So I'm just grateful she still wants to be friends with me.
No, I have to clarify. Like, I got that picture 20 times, but I love it every single time.
You do love it every single time. But this circle back to the very early question I asked you, right?
Yeah.
Do you think, I don't know whether I've actually asked that question earlier, do you think your accent worked against you or was in your favor? It could be both, but which one is more the case?
There's an audiences that enjoy it. When I do my set about being from Spain, I think it works in my favor. But I do other sets about different stuff. Like I used to have a set about space, and I think it worked against me, actually. It depends on the audiences. Actually, there are quite a few reviewers that come to review my sets or my shows, and there are 3 or 4 where they call me weird. And they mention like, oh, and her accent made her even weirder.
Did they write it down?
Yeah, I can show you the review. I was like, this is like a weird review. And then the same reviewer came to see me again, and he wrote the same thing. I think just to give people the benefit of the doubt, I think like there are so few comedians with like a very distinct accent in the circuit. So maybe they just don't know how to write about it in a review in a way that
Are we gonna mention the fact that she has an accent?
Yeah.
Is it polite? Is it too rude? Is it allowed as a reviewer to even mention the fact that the comedian?
Yeah, like it's part of the act, it's part of the person. Do mention it. Yeah, I think it's okay to mention that a person have an accent. Maybe there's a bit more work to do in terms of how to address it in a sensitive way, because I don't think that my accent may be more weird. The fact that I'm weird is what makes me weird. I'm like weird without the accent. The accent is just the way I speak. I don't know. It's not weird having an accent.
In the UK, social class is such a big thing here. It's about where you're from. When they look at each other, they have to decide the mutual social stance. So are you working class? I'm middle class. You're from the north, I'm from the south. So this is how I'm going to look at you. And we basically fucks up their plan. That's my own interpretation. Because they are not quite sure what kind of social class we're in. And we don't fit in their understanding of the regional stereotype. So they don't know how to look at us. I think they're constantly thinking, but exactly how do I see this comedian?
Yeah, it's like I do see. That's like one of the things that I found it very interesting about gigging in the UK. It's just how much this debate around class is like present everywhere, even in the comedy scene. There's like a lot of comedians are talking about class, and they talk about being working class a lot and all of that. And I found that very strange because we don't have the same perception in Spain. In Spain, there's like people with money and people without money, and that's it.
So rich and poor.
Yeah, there's rich and poor, and that's it. My province is poor, Madrid is rich, you know. But there isn't sort of like this idea of class and privilege within one country, if that makes sense. That is something very British. I find it very interesting. There are comedians that are, I think they're quite similar, and then I hear, oh, this comedian is working class and this comedian is middle class. I don't know what that means in practical terms. Really? Because they look like they're at the same level to me.
You better not drop any name because we're gonna get ourselves in trouble here. And I remember there was a study done by a professor in the UK, and they said people would lie about their actual social class. So they would call themselves working class even if they were sent to private school. And the reason being, in that interview Ismail, his parents still don't make as much money as the rest of his mates from the private school. So he still feel legitimate to call himself working class.
I do appreciate that debate around class that people have in Britain, like more so than in Spain, because people being like, our situation is not good enough, so we need to have this type of things to have the opportunities that should be accessible to us. Like right now, the universal credit was cut, and there was a lot of comedians talking about how that is affecting them. And I think, fight for your welfare state and fight for those things. It's a pity that people in Spain are sort of like more complicit about it. They don't think about those issues as much because they don't realize how big of a problem it is. It was like a culture shock for me.
Do you perform comedy in Spanish?
No, no, because I don't have the opportunity to do that. When I go to Spain, it's to be with my family, so I'm not gonna go to the club.
Right. Okay.
But I do want to try doing comedy in Spanish. I think I will struggle though, because
Why?
I'm very used to writing in English, and I'm very used to like how you structure jokes in English.
Yeah.
Like my comedy is a lot based on misdirection. And I feel like I can do that very well in English, but in Spanish, because Spanish is a lot wordier, which is like a lot of words to get to the point, I think I would struggle to write the same type of jokes.
From what you're saying, I assume you made the decision to move to UK first before you started performing comedy, right? And what prompted you getting down into this death of hollow? How did you get into performing English comedy?
So it was by accident because I never thought of stand-up comedy as something that I wanted to do. I came to UK to do my master's, and during the first week of my master's, I met this girl that was super into comedy, and I have a crush on her. And she was like, "Oh, I want to audition to do this stand-up night, blah, blah, blah." But I'm so nervous. I don't want to do it on my own. I was like, "Oh, I'll do it with you. We can do it together." Because I was trying to sleep with her, and then we both auditioned. And we got the gig, and I was supposed to do only 3 minutes, and I did my 3 minutes, and they went really well, and people were laughing very, very hard. I did my first 3 minutes about pandas. About pandas.
You took my stuff.
Yeah.
That's mine. Sorry.
I did like 3 minutes about how people should just let pandas go extinct. I really like it. And I felt like a high. I was on a high for like 3 days. Oh, this is like the best feeling in the entire world. I'm just gonna keep doing it. And I got sucked into it.
So did you manage to sleep with that girl at all?
No.
You get a high not from sexual intercourse, but from artistic expression.
I didn't got the girl, but I got comedy.
Oh.
So
Which has the same ability to make you depressed anyway.
I know.
So you were there and you were having this mindset, I might as well do it. I'm guessing you didn't write a immaculate script and just memorize the goal.
Yes, I did.
You did?
Yeah, I wrote like on Google Doc, I wrote like a script with like every joke that I could think of about pandas. I learned it from memory.
Are you a perfectionist?
Yes.
So you were like, if I'm going to do it, I might as well do it well.
Yeah, but I was like very scared. So I was like, I'm going to do it like a theater where like I learn a script and I go and I do the words I have learned. I went on stage and people were like really into it. So I was just like, I started like playing around because I was having fun with it.
So if I take you back to one of the earlier things you say, and you say someone just come to you and say the MC at the tutor say that you have very strong accent. I come from an indirect culture, and I think the British culture is an indirect culture. You're not supposed to say things blunt like that. But if it's objectively true, do you think it is in people's right to say that to us? Or is that a better way of saying it?
If you ask them for feedback, then yes. But if no one have asked you for your opinion, don't go to someone and tell them. I'm a very firm believer of not giving people unsolicited advice, because maybe they are not in a moment in their life where they are able to receive it for many different reasons. Maybe they are in a vulnerable place in their life, or maybe they are not confident enough about their comedy direction to be able to like really absorb it in a constructive way. If I ask you, what do you think about my accent or my comedy in general? Yeah, sure. Tell me that I have a strong accent. Tell me what you think. Because I'm asking you for your opinion. That means that I respect you enough to be truthful. Don't go to people and tell them. Especially something that's potentially sensitive. The way that they sound or their appearance or topic that they choose for their comedy. Like, just don't go to people and give them feedback that they haven't asked you. What do you think?
I'm very torn on this one. Actually, I have conflicting assessment of my language ability and my accent. Some would say that you speak English quite well. I can understand you fully. You speak with an accent, but I can understand you really, really well. And some would say that, oh, it's a way so funny when you deliberately do the accent. I was like, I did it. That's just how I speak, you asshole. When you really, really Chinese are that bit, I didn't.
That happened to me, and I have also been like, what?
There are some professional comedians, and when they do their set, they talk about their Spanish mother. I think Jen Brister talks about her mom. Her mom's from Spain. So the image of her mom is a blunter, a more down-to-earth, probably not as reserved woman, and in a way a bit of loca.
Yeah.
Do you think that's right, my interpretation?
Yeah, very like confident, very like outspoken, passion type of like woman. My next show is called The Emotional Universe of a Melodramatic Woman. And it's all about the stereotype of women being very like feeling all the feelings, like women in Spain. But I have to say that it's true.
Okay.
Because all the women in my family are emotional Lamborghinis. They like go from like 0 to like 100 in like a second.
What do you mean by emotional?
They just like, they don't build up like gradually. They just like...
I just want to... Is that an expression in English or is your personal...
That's like my personal...
Okay, cool. I just want to make sure.
But also, I'm not a car person, so I don't know if that's how Lamborghini
we will check with a British comedian after the podcast. Does it make sense to you, emotional Lamborghini? And also it's a Lamborghini or Lamborghini. Let's not get into that. Anyway, is this true about the portrayal of Spanish women as in Penelope Cruz and Vicky Cristina Barcelona?
Yeah, very open with their emotions. Yeah. I feel like women in Spain are very open with their emotions.
Do you play along with that? Either by portraying yourself or members of your family in your comedy world?
Yeah, now I'm trying to like explore that a little bit. But from the point of, I think it's justified because of the history that women have had in Spain recently. And there's like, women in Spain didn't have civil rights until like fairly recently. They were either under the control of their father until they went 25, or then under the control of their husband after they went 25 and they couldn't do anything on their own.
How recent was that?
Until like 1981.
1981.
Yeah,
you
until
think
very
it would be
recent.
a Victorian time?
Yeah.
No, wow.
Women couldn't vote, but they couldn't open a bank account, they couldn't travel, they couldn't do any administrative things without their husband's permissions. And there was a law that said that if the husband suspected or saw their wife cheating on them, they could kill the wife. And the punishment was that they would be exiled from Spain for a little bit, but they will not go to jail. They will not go to prison for killing their wives. They will just get exiled.
So we're talking about 30 years after the end of Second World War. Women still have such low level of rights.
There was a dictatorship, a fascist dictatorship until 1975. And then the dictator died. And it took a while for the transition to democracy to happen. So the civil rights law for women didn't change until 1981. It really sucked to be a woman in Spain until fairly recently. Now women being unspoken and being emotional and talking back to their husbands is a good thing because it comes from years and years of repression. I want to celebrate that stereotype a little bit.
But there's so much in the context of what you're describing. There's a lot of the historic and hot facts, which when you go to a comedy night, audience probably don't know.
Yeah.
How do you tailor your stuff? Just how much you can give a bit more information. You can learn a bit about my culture, but I also recognize the fact that you probably don't know that much to start with. How do you draw that line, the balance?
I just don't give them the details. I do jokes about situation where women in my family have been like that emotional, but I always like do it from a place of love and I make sure that it comes across as that. Like, I have a bit in my set about how my mother doesn't care about some of my problems because to her are known issues. Mm-hmm. I identify as like non-binary and I'm bisexual, and when I try to have those conversations with my mom, she's just like, oh my god, your problems are so small. I don't care. She's really very open about, like, when I try to have those conversations with my mom, sometimes she just roll her eyes, sometimes she like leave the room.
You are the first generation of Spaniards who is able to enjoy a more liberal and progressive society.
Yeah. And I think like it would be so unfair for me to go to someone like my mother and get angry at her because she's not using the pronouns I chose for myself. It is important. It's important to move forward, care about those issues. I would just like cut like someone like my mother some slack.
You say like coming from a place of love. How do you differentiate the both? I would think personally, whenever Margaret Cho does impression about her parents, even though it's based on racial stereotype, you can tell she really loves her parents.
Yeah.
And in a way, Margaret Cho celebrates her cultural background as an Asian American, as a Korean American. She's not ashamed of being Korean, and you can tell. And that's how I see when you meant coming from a place of love.
That's very important because we sort of like live in a culture where there's like a lot of polarization in terms of opinions and worldviews. We're like very like, oh, I'm right and you're wrong, and they're sharing in a way that's really polarizing. They insult the opposite side and so on. But there's like merit in seeing what other people that don't think like you come from.
Yeah,
I can go on stage and talk about the way my mother talks to me about certain things and sort of like handle it with love because I know where she came from and I'm clear about it, and I don't like do it in a way that makes her come across as like being silly or like being wrong necessarily. Sort of like, this is me and this is my mom and she's different.
Let's say if you have a set that involves discussion between you and your mom, do you impersonate her or do you give an indirect quote?
Yeah, I different direct quotes.
So you don't do it in a way, because a lot of comedians with different cultural background, what they would do is they would do a version with less accented English, and they will really put on the accent to portray their parent.
I don't know how to do a Spanish accent.
This is all I got. I only got one setting.
I don't know how to do any accent, really.
If you were able to, would you do that?
No, I would not do that. I would not do that. No.
Is it true though? In Spain, you don't say Spanish, Espanol. That's how Latin America. You say it Castellano. Is that right?
Well, that's about the language.
Yeah.
We call the language Castellano to differentiate it from like Latin America, because like when you watch The Simpsons, they dub The Simpsons. If you see the Latin American dub version, it's odd. It's just like so weird.
Why?
They call Homer Homero. It's just like, well, they're taking liberties.
You know, Homer in Mandarin, at least the one in Taiwan, it's the same. They called it hippo. It's because it's very close pronunciation.
Oh.
Yeah.
So whenever I want to find the version of a show that I actually want to watch, I type Castellano. But no, it's Español. Yeah.
Oh, it's Espanol. It's the same.
If you're from Spain, you call yourself Español or Española.
Okay. And as the last bit, years ago at a gig, I was doing a set about the royal family, and I was trying to do a telenovela version.
Yeah.
So I asked Isa to read some script and translate the line into Spanish for me. I don't know what she said, so I'm gonna play it, and I hope the microphone will be able to register that. So this is what you say to me.
Ooh.
Thank you. Okay. Right. Could you do the whole thing? Okay.
Okay. Se supone que este es mi matrimonio. Pero ¿cómo te atreves? Maldita puta egoísta.
Right, so the only thing I could tell For those lines is puta egoísta, which I believe to be selfish whore.
Yeah.
So what did I ask you to speak at that time? Can you tell?
Oh, that was supposed to be my marriage. How dare you stupid whore, or you're a greedy whore.
Oh, that was okay.
Yeah.
I guess I was trying to write something between, like a fake fictional fight between. Okay, let's not go there. Right, cool. Thank you. Isa, before we go, where can we find you?
You can find me at Isa Bonachera in all the socials. Yeah, no one have my name, so I got it everywhere. In Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, it's all Isa Bonachera.
No one's got it.
No, I got it all. I got it all for
Someone
me.
got mine on Instagram and only have like 20 followers, and he doesn't even update it anymore. There's his son and a dog. And it's like, can I just buy it?
Yeah.
That's a lot of insight. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Podcast. I don't know when it's gonna be launched, but that's give it right.
Oh, and I love the clean background.
Mucho gracias. I think that's how you say it. So
Yeah.
thank you for giving us your time.